Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at Sicilia in mode shuffle. This ship should be really strong in this game mode, and when you get the right matchmaker, you can do some amazing things with this ship. I will say it's been a much more challenging ship to play than a lot of the other secondary battleships in this mode. It's a little more situational, less overall tools at mid-range, longer range. And at close range, you don't have something like a Hydro, for example. Secondaries are nice here with SAP secondaries. That's the unique gimmick of Sicilia. And being an Italian battleship, we do get ourselves this exhaust smoke generator, allowing us to run at full speed towards the enemy without being detected for around a minute. It's possible I overcommitted and played too aggressively with Sicilia, and that's why I didn't have as easy a time playing this ship. Although, I think that also comes down to mode shuffle being much more passive now. It's a very different game mode than the first day I played it. Unfortunately, I've also managed to get into mostly arms race games. The few Convoy and very few Airship Escort games I did have were still quite fun, as you're still supposed to push in, you're forced to push in with these types of game modes. Arms Race has really felt like random battles to me at this point, which is a little bit disappointing. So, with GK pushing in, potentially Alaska over here, Freddy over here, and we're getting into a very, very strong position. I'm hoping that I can get some crossfires, potentially with my Bourgogne on my team here, as well as maybe Alabama encounter in the south part of the map. We're going to go after this GK first though. 23k, not too bad. Secondaries already started. We really just have to worry about that submarine on our flank. We don't have a lot of really good tools there, so I'm hoping that I can get to this next island before we get torped and pinged out by this submarine. That's what I'm really worried about here, and why I'm looking so much towards the middle of the map. And then we're just going to try and take 1v1s on this island here. Alaska, a little bit broadside. One of the other gimmicks or features of Sicilia is these insane turret angles. You get to shoot all of your guns at like 22 degrees forward. Pretty nuts. There's those torpedoes, but I think we get past into this island little alcove in time. The only problem with Sicilia is at close range, you do not get those firing angles. Colombo does. Colombo gets them at all ranges. But inside, like 6 kilometers, you actually don't get that. It's like a 48 or like 50 degree, pretty much, angle that you have to give to shoot your rear guns. Pretty difficult. So that's why we want to generally keep people outside of 6 kilometers. Now they do have some torpedo boats here. This Sejong has deep water torps, do a lot of damage, but it's a light cruiser with less than 30,000 HP, so shouldn't be too hard for us to take him out before he gets his torpedoes off at us, and with our teammates helping us out as well. One convoy ship down. This is the weakness of the convoy mode in particular compared to Airship Escort. You can just target the convoy ships and the game is over rather quickly. So as the team defending the convoy, you do need to push. And you notice their team is playing a little bit passive. It's hard to push in, to be fair. And you can get punished for it, certainly. We do see Preussen pushing the middle, trying to get an angle on us, and we have our smoke back. That's the value here, allowing us to go dark. Unless there's a radar, of course. Or a Hydro. Fortunately, he's not looking quite at us at the moment, so we get a little both sides action with those secondaries. Yeah, those sap shells do a ton of damage. Sicilia's secondaries reload very slowly. They don't have improved accuracy, but the sap shells do so much damage. Broadside, 3 kilometers, 5 overpens. Nice, nice. Amazing gaming experience. A little frustrated at that, I will admit. Didn't have the best time there. He still had his torpedoes off, so I was going to die anyway, but a little disappointed in the way AP works into light cruisers these days. Seems to just overpen. I wish that wasn't the case. Very frustrating, but it's something that has been in the game for a while, and it's one of the many things that makes light cruisers so strong. They don't really take that much damage from battleships at closer ranges. Longer ranges, some plunging fire, that kind of thing can do some good work into them. So you do have to be a little bit careful still, but no armor sometimes really is the best form of armor. Anyways, on to the next match. Again, full sending. That's really what I wanted to do in this game mode, and maybe why I'm a little bit disappointed in this game mode at times when people don't full send these days. So I don't know. I don't know what would change that in particular. I overdo it here, obviously. This is way too aggressive. The enemy team is playing properly and still pushing in with their airship here. So it's not like this team is playing bad. It's just the number of arms race games I've had recently. It's been frustrating a little bit. We do get like a 50k salvo. That was maybe the worst dispersion 50k salvo I've ever seen. Sicilia a little bit RNG dependent at times, especially if you run a full secondary build. Hybrid build probably better on this ship. I will run that in the last game and have an absolute heater. So with this one though, still full secondaries and fully pushing in. Oftentimes you can use these smokes to get up close into island cover. So I would take a lot of damage here if I didn't have this smoke before I get to this island. And that's what we're going to try and do here, is prevent a lot of incoming fire as we get into a safe position. These smokes really do help this ship play at closer ranges because of the positional advantage you can get without taking so much damage. Something like a Schlieffen can also play like this. Doesn't have a smoke, obviously, but the insane concealment that that ship has allows you to get up closer towards the enemy before you get spotted, before you take a lot of damage, and then you can bring all those secondaries to bear on those enemy ships. Now, I'm not shooting the Pommern here because I'm hoping this Brisbane gets spotted again. Very squishy ship, light cruiser, broadside. That one is big enough, though, that it won't take overpens. It's one of the nice features about the Minotaur hull. He's even slowing down flat broadside to us. 16 Sicilia shells out. What do you think happens? A little too far forward, and we only get 2 citadels, unfortunately. Perhaps with the hybrid build, we would have finished him off there, but still a very nice salvo, and we do get spotted then. There is a bit of a trade-off, of course, whenever you're using your smoke. Do you want to shoot? Do you want to stay dark in your smoke? And sometimes it's correct to shoot, and other times, like I did there, I didn't want to fire until I had the perfect salvo. Into the Pommern here, I can just use my secondaries to help finish him off, and that gets us our first kill. Secondary damage is going to be pretty high in this one, as they've been firing most of this match. There's those amazing firing angles again. You have a lot of freedom on island cover like this to play rather close to it and still be able to fire all of your guns. More secondaries on the Brisbane. A little worried about the enemy team pushing forward on the 1-2-3 line, catching my broadside. So that's where I'm going to start to push a little closer to this island, give up some of my rear gun firing angles. But that's the goal here, is to stay alive. We're in a very strong position, just gotta live. Brisbane on very low health, so we should be able to finish him off here if our secondaries don't. And we just clip this island. And normally I'm not too happy about that, but this one, the hitbox, makes a lot of sense. We're very close to that dock, and it's gonna save us a ton of HP. So in this case, maybe a little bit biased, but I believe there's some deep water torps heading our way. And without clipping that island, we probably would have taken those, since our turning radius at higher speeds isn't quite as narrow, as well as just getting out into this channel faster. Probably would have eaten those torps and died. Although we're still basically dead. I'm just spamming my smoke here, as you can see, just spamming the Y key. And not shooting, again. Really hoping to go dark instantly. We have that 20-second penalty to our bloom for detection after firing. And then I'm again spamming that damage control, barely managing to live. They're still blind firing at me, but we barely live. And not a lot of damage in this one, I'll admit, but we were annoying. I'm sure that we were very annoying to the enemy team trying to deal with us. And we managed to live, which is pretty cool. Check out some of these salvos with this sap secondaries, though. I think it was like a 4,000 damage salvo. The sap does a ton of damage, so even though it feels like you're not hitting that many shells, the alpha damage there is the big deal in comparison to some of the faster reloading secondaries. Still some blind fire coming in. They're a little thirsty. They want me. As soon as the Awami fully angles to us, though, the damage just drops off. Since it is sap, not HE, we do have to get a good angle, or a decent angle, for the sap to pen. It's not a lot though. You have to fully angle to sap if you want to bounce it. And with these upgraded secondaries here, we don't have the small little 90 mils that typically are found on Italian battleships. These are like American 127s, I think. So the sap actually pens 32, up over 32. I think it's like 36 or something to be more specific, but that's what makes these secondaries powerful. It's not their accuracy, it's not really their DPM either. It's the alpha damage and the ability to pen 32 with them. So 106 there, not too insane, but those secondaries pulled a lot of weight. Over half our damage, actually, by a lot. Now on to the last game. Here we get to see a hybrid build, and why you probably should be running hybrid builds. I do ideally want to run a full secondary build in Airship Escort, for example, where we do just get into the thick of it brawling. But to me, it feels like arms race happens over 50% of the time. That could just be small sample size, being biased to not liking this mode as much, but yeah, it's been a lot. It's why I haven't actually been playing too much of this mode, because I just end up facing off against arms race a lot of the time. Nice little dev strike there to start things off, though. Good result for the hybrid build, and we still have this gimmick with the smoke screen, allowing us to push up to islands. And sometimes I want to push to an island, but also if I'm already at an island and I want to leave that island, I'm a little too aggressive perhaps, well, we can use that smoke to leave as well. This way we can pull out flat broadside to all these ships and not take any damage. Very powerful. Alabama, I guess, understands the power of sap secondaries, so he's actually just gonna turn flat broadside to all my teammates. I guess sometimes that might be the right choice, but and the blind fire, there it is. Maybe that's the right choice, I don't know, but I think my teammates are going to do some pretty good damage into him. Much more than maybe our secondaries would. Regulo pops up on our flank, though, and here's a bit of an issue with this game. The enemy team has so many more buffs. They control the middle of the map and are about to get many more. I think they might even go get our heal buff. We might have no heal buffs. It doesn't even matter for the enemy team. They can't get 4 stacks. They already have the full 3 stacks. But it does deny us a heal. And potentially some YOLO torpedoes. At least Regulo doesn't have the Paolo torps, which are really fast and high damaging. They're quite slow, so I should be able to dodge them, or at least turn away. Alabama does go down, given flat broadside to my teammates. And just waiting for this smoke to end. I notice he's turning back towards the north, looking like he's trying to get away. So a little bit greedily, I'm already turning to shoot all of my guns. Sicilia kiting is much, much worse than Sicilia pushing in. These firing angles of the front guns looking backwards aren't nearly the 22 degrees that we see on the rear guns looking forward, at least at longer ranges. To be fair, these rear guns are atrocious inside 6 kilometers or so. We don't take torps though, which feels pretty good. Napoli pushing in, a potentially very scary target to deal with. You're going to notice the dispersion patterns do look a lot better when we're running this hybrid build. So that's why I would recommend it. Maybe even in Airship Escort I would take it. I don't know, I'm a little bit greedy for the full secondary builds, I suppose. But that was some pretty nice damage into the Napoli bow. Really not going to get much damage on him otherwise when he's fully angled. And the power of crossfires, right? So Napoli, in a bit of a tricky situation, tries to get away, and we should finish him off. We do. 4 overpens and a full pen. It is enough, though. Now, on to the end of this match. We've pretty much got it wrapped up. It's interesting that we've won this one so convincingly. Usually, I think about these games, and especially in arms race, where the enemy team gets a lot of buffs early on. Typically, they're going to pull out a win. So I was very surprised that we ended up winning this game in particular, as those buffs tend to snowball, especially when the enemy team has such a powerful heal buff and we have none. Typically that's just going to outlast and outdamage and outheal your team in the long run. But it didn't in this case. We managed to burst down the enemies that actually pushed in or over pushed. I guess that's really what it comes down to. If the enemy team gets a lot of buffs, your teammates need to coordinate well. And well-coordinated teams focus fire is more powerful than the arms race buffs. You don't typically see that, though, in random battles. So nice to have a good team in this one, for sure. Iwami looking like he wants to go broadside. So we do end up missing out on the secondaries here. 11.3 would have been the full secondary range, so they would have been firing. But ideally, we make up for that with more impactful salvos with the better accuracy here. So broadside Iwami, the full 16 guns going into him. And it's decent, actually. It's decent. We get like 25k damage or so. But no Citadel, a little disappointing. A little disappointing. Sometimes that is just not to be. We did see, though, the Ohio take that 50k salvo at the beginning, so it can happen. Ideally, if I were in charge of the armor schemes in this game, I think most ships would have an above-water Citadel that you could not overpen. And then we would just reduce the amount of overmatch in the game. More punishing against broadsides, less punishing against angled ships would be my philosophy. But I am not in charge. I just play the game. Secondaries do get firing, though, at 9.9 kilometers. Very nice. And even at this angle, that we are still getting a few full pens. Not always, but a few into his superstructure, I think, where we're not dealing with as much angled armor. It's pretty rare, though. Our main guns, though, do some pretty nice damage into his superstructure. And look at this dispersion. He's on no HP, so we won't see how much that salvo would have done. But every once in a while, man, Sicilia dispersion can work wonders. It's the same as Colombo, actually, so very intriguing that Colombo is getting a further 6% dispersion buff with the proposed legendary upgrade. That's coming in the future. I don't actually know which update that's coming in, but I'm very excited to check that one out, since Colombo could be kind of nasty with that. Of course, sap on the main guns with that ship, rather than sap secondaries, so a little different playstyle there, more mid-range, I would say. And the smoke is much worse, actually. If you didn't know, Sicilia, much more powerful smoke. Reloads quicker, lasts longer, bigger bloom, that kind of thing. Not sure why Republic blind fired me there, but he opens up the cheek for us, and since he'd already shot, I'll take that. And we do get 2 Citadels. You can cheek Republics as well as GKs, German battleships. Things with Turtleback, typically there is a small cheek that you can actually hit. And it takes some luck, of course, but with Sicilia hybrid build, we're a little bit more likely to hit that. 260,000 damage, 5 kills. Pretty nice out of Sicilia. Took me a while, though, to get some of these really good games, I will say. As always with Mode Shuffle, I'm being rather greedy with a lot of these builds, so they're not really going to work out in random battles. But with Sicilia, I went with, of course, secondaries here to try and maximize those. And then I think I was trying some of these heal buffs here, although not having fire prevention was a pretty massive downside. But what you can do with Sicilia is potentially get back to your smoke quicker with this AA defense one, so 40% consumable reload. It does impact not just your damage control and heal, but also your smoke. So there are times where you can use your damage control and then combine it with your smoke to have 60 seconds where you're not being spotted, your damage control is on cooldown, and it's back almost in time for your smoke to run out. Pretty interesting combo there that maybe lets you not run it, although a lot of the times it's just better to run fire prevention. Main battery mod 3 as well as aiming systems 1. Probably the best way to play this ship, to be honest with you. Secondaries are just a bonus, I would say. They're fun, though, so I'm trying to make them work. And I got them for one game, I think. That's 60k damage. Felt pretty good with the secondaries. And for the most part, though, this ship is mostly focused on the main guns. Random battles, certainly. The accuracy is just not good enough, I don't think, especially at longer ranges. Such slow reload and poor accuracy means you're not hitting that much or often at all at longer ranges. It feels weird. They hit really hard when they hit, but there's a lot of RNG there where some of the other secondaries, they shoot fast enough that maybe their poor accuracy doesn't matter as much, or they have improved accuracy as well as the faster reload, like a Schlieffen, for example. But with that smoke, it's pretty fun to run around with this smoke with Sicilia in especially Airship Escort, but even Convoy. Not a fan of arms race in Mode Shuffle, so next time Wargaming, please don't add that one. Let's keep it to the fun game modes where people actually push in. But that's going to do it for today with the Sicilia. It went okay, even with it taking a little while for me to get this ship going. had some fun in some very powerful matches. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.